California. And I also want to thank the current chairwoman of the Rules Committee for her courtesy in granting our side an additional 5 minutes. I rise, Madam Speaker, in opposition to the same-day rule, but primarily in opposition to underlying legislation, H.R. 7321, the Auto Industry Financing and Restructuring Act. This bill gives a bailout. I don't know any other way you can euphemistically say it's a rescue package or whatever, but it's a bailout. It's a bailout for one particular industry, albeit a very important industry, lots of jobs. But in my district, the 11th of Georgia, we have a lot of textile manufacturing, and they desperately need help. And there was language in the Colombian Free Trade Agreement that helped the textile industry in northwest Georgia. But the Democratic majority, this majority, will not allow that bill, that trade agreement, bilateral trade agreement, to pass. And you know why, Madam Speaker? Because big labor opposes it. And in this situation that we're dealing with now, big labor is the entity that gains the most from this, and yet they're the ones that, in my opinion, Madam Speaker, are wrecking the automobile industry in the United States. When their average cost per hour is $77, when the foreign manufacturers that employ United States productive workers can do it for $45 an hour, there's something wrong with that. The solution to this problem is a structured bankruptcy, just like Delta went through in my state of Georgia. It was painful, yes, but they're flying and are regaining profitability. I would trust a bankruptcy judge, a federal bankruptcy judge under Chapter 11, more than I would trust a czar, Rena, or a czar doing it by the federal government. I think clearly that's what they ought to do, restructure under federal bankruptcy, Chapter 11, lower those costs, renegotiate those contracts, deal with the creditors to take less than 100% of the debt, and then if it doesn't work, the automobile manufacturers can come back to Congress and ask for some additional help. That would make sense. But right now, the thing for them to do is to restructure under Chapter 11. And by the way, Madam Speaker, when they do that, management as well as labor needs to take a haircut, a significant haircut. In fact, maybe even a flat top or a buzz. And I yield back.
The gentleman yields back his time. The gentleman from California, Mr. Dreyer.
Madam Speaker, at this time, I'm happy to yield 1 minute to our very good friend from Grandfather Community, North Carolina, Ms. Fox.
Gentleman from North Carolina is recognized for 1 minute.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and I thank my colleague for giving credit to the great area that I live. I drive GM cars. Everybody in my family drives GM cars. My daughter has Ford cars, so we're very sympathetic. I have a lot of great friends who are automobile dealers, and I love them. They've been very kind to me over the years. We're good friends. But, folks, this is the wrong direction to go. We do not need to be bailing out the domestic auto manufacturers. And I'm opposed to this same-day rule. There's an old saying, act in haste and repent at leisure, and that's what we're going to do. We had another bailout here a couple of months ago. It was misunderstood, I think, as the only option that we had, and people said, you got to vote, you got to vote, you got to do it. That bailout has turned out to be a disaster because we were pushed into it. Things didn't go through regular order. We didn't have time to debate. We have alternatives here. As my friend from Georgia said, let the companies go bankrupt. Let them reorganize. This is not a bailout of the domestic automobile manufacturers so much as it is a bailout of the unions. And they're not the only manufacturers. My colleague from Michigan said...
Speaker, I'm happy to yield my friend an additional 30 seconds.
Gentleman's recognized for 30 seconds.
My colleague from Michigan so eloquently stated that we won World War II because of the strong manufacturing base we had in this country. But these domestic car manufacturers are not the only base that we have. We have a great manufacturing base, and I'm opposed to the federal government creating a czar position too. When in the world has the federal government ever done anything better than the private sector? Never that I know of, and I yield back, Mr. Speaker. Madam Speaker.
Gentlewoman yields back her time. The gentleman from California, Mr. Dreyer.
Madam Speaker, may I inquire of my very good friend from Rochester one more time if she might consider yielding maybe an additional 5 minutes?
I'm sorry, Mr. Dreyer, but I cannot.
Okay, okay. Thank you. I just wanted